Hi everyone, I hope this finds you well. Just wanted to give you a brief update regarding our Sunday gatherings as Pulse Church. I'm sure most of you would have seen the President's address a few days ago regarding the current status of the coronavirus pandemic here in South Africa. I'm sure you'd agree with me that we are in the heart of the third wave. In fact, this morning I was notified that yesterday's infection rates had climbed up to about 13,000, and it was about 8,000 for a week or so, and now the infection rates are actually climbing. So we are in a dire situation here in our country, and has affected every single sector of society, including churches. So as pastors, as church leaders, we have to make decisions that honor God, that honors our people, and that also honors the community that we live in. Ultimately, we will be accountable to God for every single decision that we make. And so the decisions that we make regarding our Sunday gatherings are being made in faith. The Bible says without faith, it is impossible to please God. So before I go on to the update regarding our Sunday gatherings, I also want to mention something very specific about physical gatherings. Nothing can ever replace physical gatherings, because as God's people, we have been designed to gather together in a specific space in order to worship the God who has saved us, in order to sit under the authority of the preaching and the teaching of His Word, in order to be edified and encouraged, and in order to walk away having a reverential awe of who Jesus is and what He has done for us. That is why we gather together. The Bible says we should not forsake the gathering of the believers. And when we gather together physically in a specific space, there is something supernatural that happens, because this mimics God, who, when He saw us in our brokenness, did not just decide to communicate with us from heaven. He didn't just communicate with us through a proverbial screen, but God, who is a spiritual being, put on human flesh and came to be with us. Right? So God Himself, I think, prefers physical gatherings. But that is not to say that God cannot work through online gatherings, through digital gatherings. Last year alone, we had to meet for 7 months online because we weren't allowed to meet physically. But God was still at work in and through us. Last year, the gospel was advancing in our hearts. And in fact, we grew as a church when we met online as well. And so we have decided as a church to meet online from this coming Sunday for the foreseeable future. We're going to take it step by step. We're going to take it week by week and see what God is saying to us. But do not be discouraged. Do not be dismayed, because God can still work through online gatherings. We're making this decision because we believe it is a responsible decision, and we're making it by faith as well. Lastly, what I want to say as well is, irrespective of whether we meet physically in person or whether we meet online via the screen as well, we ought to prepare our hearts before we come together as a church. You know, when I have my devotions every morning before I come to Jesus, I cannot just come to Him just as I am and open the Bible and expect God to speak to me, because God will speak to me, but yet I cannot hear Him. I cannot experience His presence if my mind and my heart and my soul is just cluttered with everything else that's going on around me. And so I have to prepare myself. I have to quieten my heart. I have to pray. I have to bare my soul before God before I can actually open the Bible, before I can actually experience His presence in me. I have to do this every day. And this is the same for us as we gather as a church as well. I believe that most of us, if not all of us, do not prepare our hearts before we come to gather on a Sunday. Right? You might be driving to church on a Sunday. You might have just had a massive quarrel with your wife, and then expect to come into the presence of God and really experience Him in a very meaningful way. And so even as we gather online for this coming Sunday, don't just stumble out of bed, half asleep, and turn on the computer and expect to meet the living God and expect to experience Him. No, it is a privilege that we get together. And so prepare your hearts before you turn on your computer, before we come together on a Sunday. This is such a privilege that you and I have. I'm looking forward to what God will do in and through us during the season as we meet online on Sundays. I look forward to seeing you all on Sunday. Prepare your hearts before you come together before God on Sunday, and we look forward to being able to spend some time together on Sunday. See you then. Cheers.